Mayor, when Trump returns to office, he will actually have a lot of power with the Republican-controlled Senate and House. He's suggested at times using the National Guard to target the enemy within, and key members of his last administration called him a fascist. But you've defended him. Can you explain?
No, I defended the rhetoric that we're using across our country and what our children are listening to and what we're doing. We've reached a point in this country where we no longer want to engage in conversation. They were even calling him Hitler.
So New York City Mayor Eric Adams went on The View today to give a very surprising, almost defense of Donald Trump. And this is far from the first time he has done it. Let's not forget that right after the election, he immediately announced that New York would stop giving money to illegal immigrants and suggested the city would be cracking down on the greater problem. Take a listen.
And as you communicate with President-elect Trump and have communicated with him, will you express concern about mass deportations in the city?
My concern is one concern, and we keep tinkering around the edges. We keep having this philosophical conversation about it. The voters communicated loudly and clearly. We have a broken immigration system. It needs to be fixed. That's the only conversation I want. It's broken. It needs to be fixed. And New York City was devastated by that broken system. 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers have made their way here. No financial assistance from the administration. I think it was about $200 and something million with billions of dollars we had to pay for. I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want what's taking place in Chicago and Denver, Los Angeles, Houston. I don't want to see it take place again.
So yeah, what exactly is going on here? Well, I think there is a specific and calculated reason why Eric Adams is doing all of this, and we'll talk about that later in the video. But first, I want to show you, obviously, on the illegal immigration front, Eric Adams is saying, okay, no, I'm actually down to fix it. Okay, well, he's suggesting even that he's perfectly fine cooperating with the Trump administration. But now today, he went on The View to also defend Donald Trump's cabinet picks and suggest that the GOP senators should actually just give him the appointments that he wants. We'll play that in a second, but first, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you're subscribed, okay? We're trying to hit 400,000 subs by Donald Trump's inauguration, and it's the best way to ensure we can keep bringing you these videos totally free. All you got to do is hit the red button. And with that said, let's take a listen to some of what Eric Adams said today on The View, because it's very interesting, and again, I think there's a reason for it.
So you heard us talking about RFK Jr. being the head of HHS. What do you think about that appointment?
The executives will nominate and bring in those who they believe will move their vision forward. And everything from the fluoride issue, I believe we should have fluoride in the water based on what my experts are telling me. But let's be clear, we have a real problem with our food in our country. And we need to watch what we're feeding our children. And
what is the major problem, do you think?
Too much hormones. You know, many people know my, I almost lost my sight with diabetes. The doctor told me I would be blind in a year. I was going to lose my fingers and toes. And it was my food. It wasn't my DNA. It was my dinner.
But JFK Jr. RFK Jr. ate some pork and now he has a brain worm. Is he the person that should be in charge of that?
So typical stupidity there from Sonny Hostin. But whoa, what's going on with Eric Adams, right? He's admitting what RFK says about our food and our health in this country is not crazy. It's actually empirically true, and a lot of people experience those very issues. Again, very interesting, but now let's keep taking a listen. So he says RFK is not actually that insane. A lot of what he's saying is very interesting. He also says that an executive should be allowed to appoint their own cabinet. Very interesting.
And let's understand this also. In all of these agencies, there are thousands of employees and experts that understand these topics, and there are rules, there are regulations.
Mayor, a lot of them want to resign. When they see some of the people that are going to be on top, I think there's going to be a mass exodus of people who have the institutional knowledge and the institutional memory and DOD
I would hope so
at HHS. Who wants to work under our cook?
And let me respond to that. If we love our country, then no one individual should take us away from our mission.
Yes.
If you dedicated your life to a particular place, I dedicated my life to law enforcement. So if a new commissioner came in that I disagreed with, I was not going to say, I'm going to resign. Let's love the country. Let's love our cities. Let's get away from the rhetoric of the professionalism that we know. Those are experts in this. They're going to look at his proposal, do a real analysis, and make these decisions. It happens every day.
Shouldn't he have a background at least?
So what he's trying to say there is the executive usually can and should be allowed to appoint the people that they want. And if you don't like it, then checks and balances and other stuff will handle the rest, which is very interesting. Because that is a lesson even a lot of establishment senators in the GOP do not seem willing to learn at the moment. But Eric Adams, of all people, seems to understand. Yeah, Donald Trump won the election. Let him appoint the people he wants to appoint, and then we'll deal with the rest. But it's not your job as a senator or whatever to just arbitrarily decide, no, the people didn't vote for that. That's not who I want. Eric Adams, a better defender of Trump's cabinet picks than some of these GOP senators. Who would have guessed? Well, it's not really surprising because a lot of the Republican Party is complete garbage, especially the establishment wing. But okay, now let's keep listening because Eric Adams is about to say that maybe some of the Hitler rhetoric was a little overplayed. What's going on here again? All right, take a listen.
You should have some kind of background in this type of thing.
Let me just...
Yeah.
Okay, so Mayor, when Trump returns to office, he will actually have a lot of power with the Republican-controlled Senate and House. He suggested at times using the National Guard to target the enemy within, and key members of his last administration called him a fascist. But you've defended him. Can you explain?
No, I defended the rhetoric that we're using across our country and what our children are listening to and what we're doing. We've reached a point in this country where we no longer want to engage in conversation. They were even calling him Hitler. That's an insult.
That was only his vice president.
That was an insult. That was an insult to the millions of Jews and others who died. We know what Hitler did. Mm-hmm. And what I said to our country, when I'm on the streets talking to my young people who are protesting on college campuses, wearing Hamas signs and calling for the destructions of groups, I said, we have to bring down this rhetoric. We have to start engaging in conversation. Obama said it right, and I agree. This is not the divided state. This is the United States. We're the greatest country on the globe, and people are watching us and name calling.
But do you think Trump should have brought down the rhetoric? Because
everybody should.
Well, let's start at the top then, because maybe it trickles down.
Everybody should. Everybody should.
So you heard that right there. And in a usual case that we have seen since this election, one or two Democrats tries to tell a bunch of other Democrats that, hey, maybe the way we approached this election with the Hitler and all that just wasn't good. Like, it was not efficient. It did not help us politically. It was just so over the top, but it is what it is. There you have it again. Eric Adams saying some strange things, like kind of being softly sympathetic to Trump. What is going on here? Well, to me, I think it is very obvious. Eric Adams wants a pardon. Is what it is. Because as you know, he is currently facing, I believe, federal indictments, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're federal for corruption. And, he's trying to hope maybe because the Biden administration essentially brought those charges that Donald Trump, as a show of grace and goodwill, will, say, okay, you know what? It was politicized, much like they were after me. They were after you, Eric Adams, as well. I don't know, but that seems to me, right? That's the reason he's doing all of this, because he understands that he's in a bit of a precarious situation. Okay, so it's kind of smart on his part. I think he knows what he's doing. But at the same time, I will point this out. I think when it comes to Eric Adams in New York, we actually do have some leverage here. And I would be perfectly fine with Donald Trump pardoning him under certain conditions. So first of all, I think it's important to understand that Eric Adams probably did do some of the corruption or financial mismanagement where he was kind of, stealing funds and all that stuff. Is he probably guilty of that? I'm open to it, right? Innocent until proven guilty, but it's definitely possible. But at the same time, it's important to understand, it seems to me the reason they started going after him is similarly, much like because in the Trump situation, he started to become an issue for them politically. You may remember back in 2022 and 2023, Eric Adams started to criticize the Biden administration over their handling of the immigration issue. And then suddenly he gets indicted It's very obvious what went on there. So this is all to say, I am perfectly happy to accept a full pardon for Eric Adams and keeping him as the New York mayor under the condition that he fully cooperates, right, with the Trump administration on illegal immigration, because I'm sure Kathy Hochul is going to try to make New York into a sanctuary state. We already saw some of those moves made in California and Massachusetts. They're obviously going to be trying to do this again, right? Where Donald Trump wins the election, he's given a mandate by the people to start mass deportations and clean up the illegal immigration problem in our country. And Democrat governors arbitrarily say, no, we love illegal immigrants, even the criminals. We're not going to be cooperating with federal authorities. So again, New York City is a deep blue place, obviously. You're not going to get a great Republican mayor in there. So if Eric Adams is willing to moderate, if he's willing, as he hinted in that opening clip of the video, to say, okay, we are willing, we're actually capable of cooperating with Trump when it comes to illegal immigration, again, I'm perfectly fine with pardoning him, okay? It was frankly probably a political indictment to begin with. There are a lot of real criminals in our government, but notice how they never actually get targeted, right? It's like the accusation was, oh, Eric Adams is corrupt. He was funneling money, okay? And Nancy Pelosi is not insider trading. Politicians on the regular aren't doing this. Why aren't they all being indicted then? Well, the reason is because most of them are protecting or working on behalf of the system. Eric Adams, who is not a very good mayor, right? Not someone I'm here to defend, but very mildly just offers some criticism of the Biden administration, and then suddenly this happens. This is always the case. I would even say the same about Hunter Biden, who obviously did commit some crimes, and that's undeniable. But honestly, even with Hunter Biden, right? Some people may get mad at me saying this, but it's just simply the truth. What he did with Ukraine was very corrupt. Arguably, you should look into some things there. But notice how that's not what he was even charged with. It was like some random gun crime, and they only did it to justify what they were doing to Trump, to say, no, it's not lawfare. We're just holding everyone accountable. No, you're not, okay? And secondly, I would even go so far as to say, when it comes to corrupt people and arguably criminals in our government, I don't think Hunter Biden or Eric Adams or any of these Democrats that they're claiming, oh, look, we're fair, we're equal. No. Those are not the real criminals in our government. Like, even if Eric Adams really did do what he was accused of, it's still far from the biggest crime that people in government are committing. It's just that they go after him again for a particular reason. So that's why I say, I say we have leverage here. He wants to be pardoned. He doesn't want to face criminal trial. He doesn't want to go to jail. Okay. Again, it's kind of political to begin with. But then on top of that, hey, are you willing to cooperate with Trump? Are you willing to help us assist in deporting illegal immigrants instead of trying to shelter them? You are. Interesting. I don't know. I'm just saying that's how you play smart politics with this stuff. And people can get mad at that. Maybe they want to see Eric Adams get indicted anyway. Okay, it is what it is. I'm just saying if I were Trump, that would be something I would look into. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on Eric Adams trying to kiss up to Trump in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, God bless and peace.